The anime opens with a giant white dragon looking at the bodies of two kids lying. One of them has lost his arm. Having pity on him, the dragon takes the form of a human and creates the kid a new left arm, heals him, and along with giving him a tattoo, which in this world is called Starbrand. Years later, the kid, Ash Blake, wakes up in the middle of the night and sees an unknown, naked, voluptuous-looking woman with horns sitting on top of him. He is unable to move as the girl starts seducing him and kissing him, promising that she will take care of him. She introduces herself as Navi. The next morning, he wakes up, thinking it's a dream. Blake is a senior student at the famous Antsalive and Dragonar Academy, but he is branded as the #1 problem child for having no dragon pal, and also because he gets into fights randomly. His friend Raymond Kirkland comes to Ash to remind him of the upcoming competition and lets him know he can borrow his dragon pal Bridget, since Ash does not have his own pal yet, but is capable of riding any dragon. The Antsalive and Dragonar Academy is an educational institute where the students learn to become dragon riders, each with their own personal dragon symbolized by their star brand. Ash and many other students have gathered in their new class to prepare for the official Aries Dragon Riding Festival. After the introductory class, Sylvia Lautremont, the prideful crown princess, makes a rude entrance to the class. She doesn't like any of the other students very much. Later, they receive a speech from Student Council President Rebecca Randall. She is famous for being extremely beautiful and for raising her dragon pal to the rank of maestro. During their combat training, Sylvia's dragon Lancelot and Ash's borrowed dragon Bridget have an accidental collision. Though neither dragon is injured, Ash apologizes for his mistake to both Bridget and Sylvia, but Sylvia instead slaps him and starts insulting him. She even goes to the extent of saying that the reason he doesn't have his own dragon is because it is dead already. He gets enraged and demands an apology, but Sylvia instead challenges him, saying that if he wins during the Aries dragon race, then she will apologize to him. He accepts the challenge. He wakes up at night to see the same woman again on top of him, vaguely describing the reason she visits him every night and goes down on him. The next day, the competition is about to begin. To cheer up the boys, Rebecca playfully says that the winner will get to go on a date with her for a day, and everyone gets excited. The race begins, and all the students start to race through the city district. Soon they go inside a tunnel, where Ash notices Sylvia is blocked by a trio of girls from her class. He asks Sylvia if she needs any help, but she rebuffs him. He runs up to them and pushes them away, breaking the girls' formation, letting Sylvia race in a fair manner. The race continues throughout, and Ash starts to have fun, but due to overexerting Bridget for competing with Sylvia's Lancelot, the dragon gets tired and he steps out of the race. But instead of being disheartened, he is still glad he had fun racing against her. Suddenly, he hears a sound in a nearby forest. To investigate further, he goes inside the forest and comes across a ruin, where he accidentally meets a masked man who tells him it's an airship. Looking at the gun, he asks if he is a Zephyros Empire soldier. The man instead says that he knows Ash doesn't have a dragon of his own, despite being 16 years old. Suddenly, Ash gets attacked by a girl, who addresses the masked man as Lord Milgaus and chases after Ash, who runs away. Soon she catches up to him, gets an upper hand. She is about to stab him, but hesitates for a minute. Ash grabs the opportunity and pushes her away as she stands near the edge of the cliff. Just as she's about to fall from there, Ash pulls her away, but he accidentally trips over and falls from the cliff instead. Lord Milgaus approaches the girl, calling her Anya and telling her to let it go. As Ash falls, he wonders if he is going to die. Suddenly, he is in a trance mode, and his star brand begins to shine, and from it appears a young, naked girl with horns, whom Ash believes to be his pal. His descent to the ground has slowed, and the girl is in his arms. When the girl wakes up, she realizes she is naked in the arms of Ash and punches him, making him fall into the river. She berates him for staring at her and not being gentle enough. He introduces himself as her master, but she denies it, saying that she is his master instead, leaving him confused. But before moving on, here's a quick detail about the setting of the anime. Arkstrata is the main continent of the series. It is otherwise known as the Dragon-Rearing Land, and boasts the largest dragon population in harmony with its 5 million citizens. It is composed of 5 main kingdoms, which are Law Treatment Night Kingdom, Chevron Kingdom, Zephyros Empire, Espada Holy Agency, and Labrock Commercial Union. Zephyros Empire signed a ceasefire agreement with the Law Treatment Night Kingdom and the Chevron Kingdom after their previous war. Since then, Zephyros Empire has been secretly planning an attack on the Law Treatment Kingdom. Ash brings the girl to his dorm and she takes his bed and sleep, suggesting he go outside the room and sleep. Later at night, he is deep in his sleep as the girl sits on him. Thinking she is half asleep, he lets her bite him, calling them dragons' playful bites, and she may have accepted him as her breeder. He wakes the next morning to find Rebecca is at his doorsteps. She enters to check on his pal. Rebecca's friend Max scolds Ash for misbehaving with his pal looking at the bed and him having love bites all over his body. But Ash explains he didn't do anything inappropriate. When being asked why she is being naked, the young dragon says she doesn't need any clothes. Rebecca instead gives her some clothes and says that Dr. Angela Cornwell will check on his pal. Until then he will have to take care of her. They go shopping and the girl loves her new look in Rebecca's outfit. She feels hungry and munch on Ansel crepe. Soon she starts to feel high after eating the crepe and starts seducing Ash in the middle of the street. People stare at them acting inappropriately as they are interrupted by Sylvia and her maid Cosette. Unfortunately, a sneeze from the dragon girl gives Ash a direct look at Sylvia's panties, prompting her to slap him again before leaving with her maid. Someone is secretly keeping an eye on them. Cosette successfully sobers the girl by making her drink some milk. Sylvia explains that Ansel is like alcohol or tobacco for dragons, and such a young one shouldn't be having it. Sylvia apologizes for her rude behavior and leaves abruptly. As Ash stares at Sylvia, the girl starts beating him for flirtingly looking at her. He takes her for more shopping and realizes she doesn't have a name yet. He comes up with the name Eco. As she calls herself by Eco, both she and his arm's tattoo shines, completing the bond as they have officially paired. Eco gets inside a washroom and hears a noise. Cosette is glad Sylvia has made up with Ash, and soon they see Ash waiting outside the ladies' room. She starts calling him a pervert, but he explains himself that he is waiting for Eco to come out. Cosette gets inside the washroom and finds no one but some dust. She comes out with them, calling them the dragon dust, which may have been used to abduct Eco. Ash looks worried and starts panicking, tries to run in an attempt to search for Eco, but Sylvia instructs Ash to use his star brand to locate her. He removes his sleeves to show his tattoo, and in his heart calls for Eco. The star brand glows as he sees little butterflies around him. Sylvia says that the butterfly will lead him to Eco, and he follows. Ash tracks Eco down to a seemingly abandoned mansion. Eco, meanwhile, finds herself in captivity and is abducted by none other than Dr. Angela Cornwell, who wishes to dissect the young dragoness as part of her research into her. The Academy asked her to perform. With the help of Sylvia, Ash reaches the room to see Eco tied. Cornwell doesn't give up and says she has shielded the room, which stops them from summoning their pals. Angela's oracle makes Sylvia and Cosette fall unconscious, except Ash, who fights harder to stay in his consciousness, but soon falls asleep. Eco yells at him to save her, and his star brand glows up, and he makes her magic disappear in a flash, drawing strength to break through her oracle barrier from the astral flow. Angela accepts her defeat and lets Eco go and escapes. Eco is glad he saved her, but still punches him for taking time. The next day, much to the surprise of Ash and Sylvia and the delight of all the other male students, they see Angela Cornwell as their new homeroom teacher. Rebecca has called Ash to meet her. She at first flirts and teases Ash and requests him to join the student council. While tending to Lancelot, Sylvia says to herself that she too can ride any dragon and will not feel inferior to Ash. Soon she learns of a rampaging dragon in the courtyard and attempts to mount it herself, attempting to surpass the dragon taming ability of Ash. Later on, while discussing the possibility of Ash meeting the Empire spies at the forest, Rebecca asks Ash help to join her and defeat them. Suddenly, they are interrupted by the alarms and discover that a young dragon is rampaging in the courtyard. And more importantly, Sylvia is attempting to mount the dragon despite the obvious danger. Rebecca says that Sylvia is being competitive with Ash about controlling any dragon. Rebecca jumps out of the window and summons her pal, and creates an arc, a mystical armor and weapon for herself. She successfully takes down the rogue dragon. As Ash is lost in his thoughts, Iko comes and starts arguing with him for ignoring his master. Ash asks if Iko will ever be able to create an arc for him, and if for that Iko has to become a maestro. Iko continues to fight with him, but someone spies on them. It is revealed that it's Anya, who can't believe Ash survived the fall. Later, as a result of winning the race earlier, Sylvia has won a date with Rebecca Randall and meets Ash and Iko and takes them to a cafeteria. Anya, meanwhile, thinks about Ash as Lord Malas asks her if anything is bothering her. He says he is ready to go on with his plan and wields a large black sword called Turfing that appears to give him several abilities, but most notably the ability to create necromantia, reviving dead dragons or zombie dragons. The necromantia starts causing havoc in the town as Iko challenges the necromancer. The necromancer grabs Iko and starts attacking the town. Rebecca engages in a fierce battle with the necromancer and uses her best attack to defeat the necromancer. But the necromancer overpowers her. Rebecca orders Ash to take Sylvia away from the battlefield. Sylvia is paralyzed by fear after seeing the massive zombie dragon. Ash, out of option, has to slap Sylvia and is able to snap her out of it. Sylvia summons her Lancelot and together mount the dragon to confront the rampaging necromantia as the necromancer swallows Iko whole. Iko gets attacked inside the bowel of the dragon, but suddenly finds herself in a serene place and meets Navi, who says she is inside a dragon workshop which is used to make arcs. Navi explains that she is still immature and helps Iko to create an arc dragwise. The dragon workshop has materialized itself into a human personality, Navi, in order to guide her while she is still young. Meanwhile, Lancelot and the necromancer engage in a fight. Navi explains how an arc works and how she examined Ash Knights before Iko was born. Back to the fight. Sylvia tells Ash that Lancelot is wearing out. Iko successfully channels her arc and provides it to Ash. Ash feels confident as he gets his first arc, although makeshift, made of pure silver and designed to allow him to fly to take down the necromancer, and with the help of Sylvia, he is able to mount the necromantia. Lord Malos and Anya retreat back while Ash rides the necromancer and summons his sword to slay the dragon, successfully defeating it and freeing Iko from its bowls. He catches Iko mid-air. Back at the dorm, everyone congratulates Ash for getting his first pal and also defeating the necromantia. He accepts Rebecca's offer of joining the council. In return, Rebecca kisses him on his cheek and Sylvia's, angering Iko, who starts beating Ash. We are shown a past incident where, wanting to be a breeder like her mother and brother, Sylvia had decided to meet the mother dragon. Sylvia travels through the jungle but is lost and begins to panic. There she meets a young boy who helps her meet the mother dragon, and he carries her on her back as they went together to meet her. Presently, she wonders what the boy is up to now, not knowing that the young boy was none other than Ash. A ceremony takes place 10 days after the necromancer's attack, as Ash and Sylvia are admitted to the student council per Rebecca's request, who pledges to the council. Iko, too, introduced as a humanoid dragon and the school's new mascot, pledges to join the council. But instead of a speech, she awkwardly just howls. The whole school falls into laughter. Iko is embarrassed and talks about it to Ash, as he is taking down the posters of a fan club which is set up by some students looking for the identity of the Silver Knight that defeated the necromantia. Iko learns that Ash has his own dedicated fan club, but he wants to keep it a secret. Meanwhile, somewhere else in a battlefield, a blonde woman alone takes down an enemy army charging at her, with no mercy. At school, Raymond teases Ash for having a cute pal and asks if he is willing to exchange pals with him, only to get slapped by Iko. Later, they are introduced to Jessica Valentine, president of the Silver Knight Fan Club, a group dedicated to discovering the identity of the Silver Knight who saved Aunt Sullivan from the necromantia. Sylvia gets enraged at her sudden appearance at the middle of the class as Jessica says her only ambition is to find the identity of the Silver Knight in order to marry him, which due to the laws would truly make her nobility. She learns from her friend that Sylvia was present too at the scene and demands to know the true identity of the Silver Knight. Rebecca comes right at the moment and asks her to leave. She asks to know about the necromantia incident, but Rebecca whispers something which makes Jessica angry and she leaves. Ash later learns from Rebecca that Jessica's family actually works under the wealthy Randall family, and she is very terrified of anyone learning the truth that her luxurious life is because of that. Rebecca earlier threatened to expose the truth, which caused her to angrily vent out of the room. Rebecca says that Jessica is a good person, but she dreams of becoming the nobility by marrying the arc-welding Silver Knight. Rebecca also tells everyone that Veronica Lautrement, the Iron Blood Valkyrie, is coming for a visit, who is also Sylvia's older sister, and Sylvia looks frightened to hear the news. The blonde woman who was fighting the army earlier was indeed Veronica, and she is on her way to the school. Anya, meanwhile, is at the market looking for Ash. Ash with others are concerned about Sylvia, and Cosette teases him if he has feelings for her. He says he doesn't, but is looking out for a friend. Cosette tells them that Sylvia was put through intense training from her eldest sister Veronica, which created an intense fear of her. Ash later tells Sylvia that she can talk to him if she wants to, but she rather insults him and walks away. She remembers her past again, as she promised the young boy she would become a great valiant knight. Everyone in the school is ready to welcome Veronica. Ash requests Iko to be at her best behavior. Ash wonders if Sylvia might not show up, but Sylvia does arrive to welcome her sister, shocking Ash, but he admits he is glad. Veronica makes a grand entrance on her personal aircraft to the Ansalivan Dragonar Academy. Upon arriving at the academy, Veronica is greeted by most of the student council and the city council. Veronica asks if her sister has come to meet her. Sylvia steps forward saying she is there as Veronica reunites with her after 4 years. But Veronica easily catches that it's not the real Sylvia and swings her axe, nearly cutting her down. She reveals herself as Cosette. Cosette accepts her trickery in an attempt to make Veronica think that her sister Sylvia was present. The real Sylvia arrives shortly thereafter, and although she is clearly scared, Veronica starts insulting her, calling her a disappointment, and with a single strike of her blade, she strips her. Sylvia is embarrassed as Veronica humiliates Sylvia further in public and disappointed with her sister's progress as a Dragonar. Although Ash stands up for her, Veronica dismisses him at first, but soon she quickly changes her tone when she learns that he is the so-called Silver Knight who slayed the Necromantia and her bodyguard carries him away. Meanwhile, Anya is writing down her letter, but is interrupted by her brother. Her brother tells her that the Iron Valkyrie has arrived at the town. Anya rushes to stop her tribe of people who are also heading towards the school to avenge their people. Veronica's aide Primrose Shelley, who is also the sister of Cosette, is keeping Ash busy and she plans to take him shopping, but she instead bumps into a wall. He starts reading a diary to learn more about Veronica's history. Prim starts undressing Ash to take him for a bath with Veronica and Rebecca, but he resists. Prim uses her magic to undress him, but ends up undressing herself. Nonetheless, she manages to undress him and take him to the bath, joined by Rebecca, Veronica, Iko, and Dr. Angela Cornwell too. While they talk about the necromantia activity, Sylvia joins them too, causing an embarrassment between her and Ash. Veronica commences an arranged marriage for Sylvia, as their brother who was first in line to marry first, Julius, had died. Veronica proposes that Sylvia marry Glenn Maguire, her bodyguard and once her brother's best friend. Ash stands up for Sylvia again. Veronica asks if Sylvia would like to participate in the combat taking place in her honor the next day, to show that she can truly take her own decisions. Sylvia accepts. The next day, Veronica watches the sporting match between Rebecca Randall and Sylvia, while Iko doesn't participate. During the fight, their respective dragons face a tough battle, but Sylvia's reckless action to take on Rebecca's dragon head-on causes her to fall from her dragon, losing the battle. She wakes up to find Ash beside her. They are interrupted by Rebecca, who came with Glenn. Sylvia acts a little strange while looking at Glenn, clearly showing that she had a crush on Glenn at some point of time. Glenn tells her that Veronica wants Sylvia to pray for forgiveness for her weakness in the local church alone. Ash asks Glenn if he is ready to marry someone he doesn't love, and if he is just a puppet for Veronica. Glenn instead dismisses him, saying he will readily give away his life for Veronica. Rebecca tells Ash to attend the council meeting the next morning regarding the royal tour. The next day, he meets Iko, who starts to act weird with him as he deduces she is having an Ansel candy. Iko kisses him in front of Rebecca, who calls their relationship different than usual human-dragon bonding. Soon she tells him that before on a royal tour, Veronica was attacked by a group of terrorists. She shows him the photo of the attacker, Avdotia Kiltskaya, which he feels he has seen before. While Sylvia is at the church praying for her forgiveness, she meets Jessica, who is also praying to meet her dream Silver Knight soon. They end up arguing as soon as they are attacked by Avdotia Kiltskaya and her bandits along with her dragon. The church is taken over by a group of bandits led by the guerrilla Avdotia Kiltskaya. Veronica heads back to her aircraft to strategize a plan when she learns of it. She calls Avdotia from her aircraft and asks what she wants. Avdotia shows her hostages, who is a Thai Jessica in a crucified manner, and threatens to bomb the church with everyone in it if Veronica doesn't give her head to Avdotia. Avdotia asks her men to stay alert as Sylvia is hiding among the people inside the church. Some moments before, Jessica instead intentionally gave herself up as a hostage so that they don't attack Sylvia, and got tortured by the bandits. Sylvia starts admiring Jessica's courage. Beside her sitting is Anya, who thinks if she lets Avdotia know she belongs from her tribe, she may let her go. But she stops herself. Veronica subsequently takes command of the town's forces and devises a strategy with Rebecca to take back the church. Rebecca comes up with a plan and whispers it to Veronica, which she likes. Avdotia sees Ash slowly approaching towards the church. Rebecca's plan is to send Ash to serve as a negotiator while Eiko works to create another arc with ice power to neutralize Avdotia's forces while Rebecca and Glenn dig into the church from below. Ash says he has come as a negotiator and tells her that Veronica has already made her cannons target the church and asks Avdotia to surrender. But Avdotia isn't willing to give up easily. Eiko is trying hard to create an arc as Navi meets her, telling her to transform into her true form. At the church, Anya is caressing a child who ends up crying. Avdotia, irritated, is ready to make her dragon eat them. As her bandits are ready to capture Anya, Sylvia acquires enough courage to stand up to Avdotia, revealing her true identity. Ash tries to stop her but gets grabbed by Avdotia's men. In spite of Avdotia stripping Sylvia in front of everyone and insulting her, Sylvia remembers all her embarrassing moments and also her promise to the young boy she made years ago. She stands up, boldly declaring her intentions to become a paladin. Rebecca enters the church and engages in a fight with the bandits. Ash finally gets out of his captivity, but Avdotia's dragon attacks him. Just as the dragon is about to gulp him, he gets his second arc was imbued with an arc weapon capable of using ice magic to freeze a bomb, thanks to Eiko, and defeats the dragon by freezing him and also revealing himself as the Silver Knight. He uses his ice magic to freeze both the dragon and Avdotia. Jessica is excited to learn that the Silver Knight she was looking for is Ash, jumps on him, but Rebecca knocks her down. Ash approaches a traumatized Sylvia and asks her to hop on his back as he carries her out of the church. Sylvia gets a strange feeling that Ash has carried her earlier too. At night, when Ash is deep in sleep, he suddenly gets an undergarment on his face. He wakes up to see it's Jessica, who has come to his room and starts seducing him. Ash resists her and Eiko wakes up too, hearing the noise, and gets enraged. She kicks Jessica out of the room and kicks Ash too, who gets stuck on the wall. The next day, they go to meet Veronica, as Rebecca lets him know Jessica has joined the council too, to make her keep quiet about him being the Silver Knight. They enter Veronica's room to see Avdotia is there too. Avdotia reveals herself as a subordinate for Veronica, and the whole church fiasco was actually a ruse to make Sylvia embrace her true self. Avdotia says the reason she helped Veronica is because Veronica has promised Avdotia to help her find her long-lost sister. Ash also realizes that Veronica truly loves her sister beneath her cold demeanor when he learns that her ship's name is based on Sylvia. The fake terrorist plot also helped them to capture a number of individuals who were enemies of the state that were after Veronica's head. With her business complete, Veronica leaves the academy smiling down at her younger sister. Eiko sees a dream where an unseen entity with tentacles grabs her and calls her Avalon's Holy Dragon's Emperor family's Imperial Princess. She wakes up to find several bite marks on her body, realizing she wasn't dreaming. Ash wakes up to comfort her and checks her bed to see it's wet, embarrassing Eiko. He starts teasing her but gets punched instead. At school, Ash and Raymond discuss the upcoming training camp. They attend the assembly to find out about the last student council member named Lucas Saarinen hasn't shown up to the camp for the last 3 months. Ash learns that Luca holds the record for youngest person to achieve the rank of Dragonar. Rebecca instead has chosen Ash to go to the training camp with them, leaving everyone shocked. Later, Rebecca explains that he does need a little push to get better with the dragons. Soon they are interrupted by other council students who let them know there's a fire coming from a room. They rush to the room and see a girl lying in a coffin, and the smoke is actually an incense stick. The girl is none other than Luca. She starts acting eccentric with Rebecca, who Kara sees her. Luca has a very aloof personality, often doing things at her own pace, and sometimes comes across as a bit of an airhead. They still don't know why she stopped riding her dragon anymore, but they assume that the astral flow between her and her dragon Gawain is broken. After an accident where she fell off Gawain, she developed a fear of riding her dragon. Iko, meanwhile, is in her room and remembers her nightmare again. Anya gets washed up to get ready for her new job as a cook as a ruse to find out the Silver Knight. Ash comes back as Iko explains that one who is haunting her dreams is much more fearful than the necromantia. Ash comes to sleep beside her at night to comfort her, but she pushes him away for acting too cocky. The next day, Ash sees Luca walking alone and feeling sad for her. Ash goes up to Rebecca and says he will help her overcome her fear, as he too have faced such a situation when he didn't have his own pal. Rebecca suggests Ash to make Luca ride her dragon with him instead. Ash, Sylvia, and Iko visit Luca's dorm. Luca wakes up and starts licking Iko's horns, finding it cute. They tell her that Rebecca has summoned her, and she starts to undress herself in front of Ash, embarrassing him. Later, they take Luca with them to meet her dragon Gawain. Luca shrieks in fear and steps back, but Ash boldly steps forward, and Iko puts an arc over him, the Silver Knight armor, to face Gawain. He starts questioning Gawain as to why he stopped Luca from riding him. The dragon throws him away and hovers above him, ready to attack. Gawain attacks Ash, which only hurts his armor, and the arc around him vanishes. Ash feels nauseous and faints. At a cafe, the student council discusses their efforts to talk to Gawain, to know the reason he rejected Luca. Ash asks permission to enter the Mabe house in an effort to talk to Luca again. Rebecca allows him, but also asks to take Iko with him. Luca at her place remembers her past times with Gawain, who by the standards of a usual maestro, is actually very tiny, due to his young age. Ash comes and meets her, and Luca offers them tea. He apologizes for his earlier attempt and asks her to join them for the training camp where she and Gawain can rebound. He admits that all he wants is to make them meet face to face. Luca doesn't answer, which irritates Iko, and she starts shouting at both Luca for being indecisive and to Ash for showing her attitude. Luca agrees to go to the training camp. Meanwhile, Anya comes back from Aunt Sullivan and finds Milgaus waiting for her. She says she has successfully infiltrated the school and will be in charge of meals in the special training camp, keeping an eye on Ash and Sylvia. Milgaus plans to do experiments on dead young dragons near the training camp and orders Anya to keep an eye on the council. He later meets a shadowy figure and lets him know of his plan, who addresses him as Julius instead. At the camp, promising Dragonars attend the training camp along with their dragons. Luca too arrives with Rebecca. Rebecca lets her know that she talked to Gawain, and he might reach the camp directly. Iko, who is riding with Sylvia, holds her melons and starts admiring them. But she also shows her jealousy towards other women having larger busts than she does. This appears to be because Ash pays attention to such women, like Sylvia and Rebecca, which Iko took notice of. They reach the camp where Rebecca gives a speech and asks everyone to be in their best form. But before the training, they should enjoy themselves and allow everyone to go to the beach. All students play at the beach, where Jessica comes with her dragon and picks up Ash against his wish and takes him away. While Sylvia is hesitant to wear the swimsuit, every boy is crushing over Rebecca. But Sylvia soon wears her suit and comes out, attracting all the gaze. At night, Ash sees Luca walking by herself and follows her. He sees Luca meeting Gawain, who is talking to him, saying she is glad he became a maestro. But Gawain instead growls at her. She is disheartened and kneels down, asking why is he acting like this, and sees Ash beside her standing. Ash gets enraged and asks Gawain to explain himself, or he will make him talk. Gawain starts attacking him. Gawain tries his best to attack Ash, but he continuously dodges his attacks. Ash somehow manages to get on the back of the dragon, but the dragon electrocutes him, thinking Ash is trying to attack him. Ash gets knocked out. Anya, who is witnessing the whole incident, comes to help Ash. Ash wakes up in the dragon workshop where he meets Navi again and Gawain in his tiny form. Navi explains that despite being a maestro, Gawain is pretty young and is apologizing to him. She says that 3 months ago, Luca accidentally fell from Gawain while they were riding, practicing the dragon dance. This is another talent of Luca's, unique to her tribe, the dragon dance. Since then, Luca became afraid of riding him due to falling off his back, and Gawain, very considerate about her feelings, started rejecting her, which resulted in their bond being severed and Gawain can't use his astral flow anymore. Ash understands Gawain is very loyal and is willing to die. Navi tells him Gawain will survive for 5 more days. Aura around Ash glows up as Navi says their time is up and she knows only he can fix the bond, calling him Knight of Avalon, and kisses him. He wakes up to find himself with Luca, naked, grabbing onto his leg. She explains that his temperature was dropping, so she was keeping him warm. He tells her whatever he learned from his vision and convinces her to let go of her fear. Meanwhile, Dr. Cornwall visits the secret chamber of the dragons in the camp and finds an Old Testament. She learns from it about the age-old battle between the Avalon Holy Dragon family and the Nehelinia Dark Dragon family. Soon she is shocked to see Milgauss and Anya sneak up on her, and Milgauss calls her, and Dr. Cornwall snaps out for a while, remembering Julius used to call her, and an Anya knocks her out. The next morning, Iko is glad to see Ash okay and hugs him. Luca comes running to him and says Gawain has gone missing. It's the end of training camp and all the Dragonars celebrate as Luca, Ash, Sylvia, and Iko run towards Willingham Mausoleum, a location they learned from Rebecca. The mausoleum is dedicated to a dragon who sacrificed himself to save his master. Rebecca had decided at first to join them, but Ash forbids her so that no other students feel suspicious and instead leaves with a small group. Meanwhile, Milgauss sees Ash leaving on the Lancelot and is ready to go with his plan. The group reach the mausoleum and suddenly they see a storm brewing. They have sensed it before too. The gate opens and a horde of zombie dragons come out of it. Other students too notice the thunder and get worried. Sylvia is grabbed by the Necromantia, but Ash defeats them. The Necromantia heads towards the camp to attack the other students. At the camp, the Dragonars are prepared with their dragons, under the leadership of Rebecca, to tackle the Necromantias. Meanwhile, the group gets inside the mausoleum and Ash asks Iko to make him an ark. The group in search of Gawain meets Milgauss. Milgauss starts insulting Sylvia and he calls her Sylvie. Sylvia remembers her brother Julius used to call her Sylvie, who was executed for slaying a dragon. Milgauss then summons out his large Necromantia dragon, which is the zombie version of the legendary Willingham dragon. Iko meets Navi again, who tells her that one day she will become strong enough to build an ark without getting unconscious. Soon they learn Ash is in danger. At the camp, the Necromantias attack the girls and starts torturing them, but Jessica's dragon saves them. Rebecca uses her magic to stop the Necromantias, but there are many of them. At the mausoleum, the Necromantias take a hold of the girls and starts torturing them too inappropriately. Iko uses her Light of Arc to defeat the Necromantias. Milgauss is surprised and suddenly gets attacked by Ash in a new golden armor. He uses a forbidden petrification magic through its arc weapon. Milgauss is shocked and attacks Ash. Despite seemingly lacking any arc, Julius shows high levels of strength and agility, enough to nearly defeat Ash to the point of being exhausted and destroying his arc. The arc vanishes from his body. Milgauss rushes at him, but one of his hands is petrified by Ash's shield. The group asks him to surrender, but Milgauss fixes his arm and jumps from the cliff, escaping. Luca suddenly grabs Ash, falls from the cliff. Luca thanks Ash for helping her to eventually be able to overcome her fear. She starts to plead to Gawain to connect to her astral flow to save her. Gawain, who was sleeping beneath the mausoleum, wakes up and rushes to catch Luca. At the camp, the Necromantias are having an upper hand at defeating the students, but suddenly they notice Luca riding Gawain. The two can cast a magical spell, doing their dragon dance, and attacks the Necromantias and help the students win the battle against the Necromantia. Milgauss is angry at being defeated, but his partner says he will crush both the Lautrement family and the Chevron family. The council celebrate their win against the Necromantias. They have also saved Dr. Cornwall, who was found at the mausoleum. Suddenly, they are interrupted by a letter from Sylvia's father inviting Sylvia, Ash, and Eco to the capital so he can meet them. Sylvia, Ash, and Eco ride the Lancelot to the capital to meet Sylvia's father. Sylvia explains how 5 countries of the Arc Strata are meeting to have a conference regarding the future, and La Treatment Country is hosting the event. Ash still doesn't understand why Sylvia's father wants to meet him and Eco. They finally reach the capital, Fontaine. Upon reaching the capital, Sylvia gets a homecoming welcome. She goes to meet her father as Ash and Eco are taken to their room. But their attendant leaves them to attend more important guests and takes them to Veronica's room, where they once again meet Prim, who is unusually clothed. But Prim's clumsy action leads to an embarrassing situation for the head maid. Sylvia meanwhile meets her father, Oswald La Tremont, who is delighted to meet her. Oswald turns out to be a very jovial man who dotes on his daughters and dearly loves Sylvia, leading her to embarrassment instead. He reveals the only reason he called them was because he was feeling lonely. Meanwhile, Ash and Eco decide to explore the city, and Prim decides to take them on a tour. Sylvia asks her father if his brother Julius was truly executed. Her father's mood changes as he says he is sure Julius was executed for his crime of killing his own pal. Sylvia realizes he is lying. Eco loves the tour to the city, and they visit many eateries and famous places. Prim soon gets tired and lies on the bench. Eco demands for crepes as Ash is looking at a group of couples together. Eco asks why the people are sticking to one another, as Ash explains the people are actually lovers. Eco holds his hand, and then they see the couples kissing each other. Eco warns him not to think any further. Soon they see a large aircraft belonging to the Vitterhausen family. Cosette meets them and explains the family represents another famous royal, Zephyros. They are taken back to the mansion, where Ash is awestruck when he looks at Sylvia all dressed up like a princess. He admires her, which angers Eco. Oswald is delighted to meet Ash and Eco too, even admiring Eco's horns. Oswald appoints him as a Dragonar. Ash is shocked to learn this. Oswald explains that Ash so far has shown excellence and Eco is a special dragon with a human form, and asks if he is sure Eco isn't a maestro already. Oswald officially makes Ash the Dragonar. Sylvia thinks that now that Ash is officially a Dragonar, he is eligible to marry royalty and blushes. Sylvia talks about how Zephyros' empire declined to participate in the Congress and instead sent a noble family in place of it, and also tells her father that he is acting too lenient. But her father is more excited for the ball the next day. Oswald asks Ash if he has done anything illicit with Sylvia, shocking both Ash and Sylvia. Oswald warns him that if he does anything, he will punish him severely. But Ash tells him that he hasn't nor is planning to do anything. Anya meanwhile goes to meet Milgaus, but along with him meets his secret partner, Klaus Vitterhausen. Klaus starts to tell a story. An event happened 10 years ago when a royal blood was outcast by his own family due to a crime. Milgaus stops him. Klaus instead shows them a machinery he has been working on, which he calls the Yggdrasil device. Klaus starts to work on it, but Milgaus says they will need a suitable subject at first, and his target is none other than Eco. Klaus' plan is to awaken Eco's true self through the device. They give Anya her next mission, which is to capture Eco. Sylvia, while walking in the mansion, suddenly remembers something, that the necromantia dragon that attacked them the first time was Mordred, her brother's dragon. She comes face to face with Veronica and Avdotia. Avdotia insults Sylvia, but Veronica stops her. Veronica explains that she had been investigating every dragon tomb in the country after learning that dragon remains are a key ingredient in the creation of necromantia. As Veronica had feared, she learned that the tombs had been raided, including that of the tomb in Fontaine City, where Mordred's, pal of Julius, remains were being kept. Sylvia also voices her own suspicions that Milgaus is in fact Julius, and the first necromantia was Mordred. Veronica asks her to keep the information to herself for now, while she investigates further. Sylvia takes a bath, preparing herself for the ball. Eco goes through a bunch of gowns but doesn't find any gown that she likes. Meanwhile, Sylvia visits Ash's room. Ash wonders why Sylvia came to his room. Eco keeps trying on the gowns, and while having a conversation with Prim about how close Sylvia and Ash are getting, Prim says that Ash is a human and would want to settle down someday, get married and have kids of his own, and Iko is a dragon at the end of the day. After realizing that she can never be with Ash, Iko runs off. Meanwhile, Sylvia tells Ash that she caught her father lying about the execution of her brother. Every clue she got so far directs towards one thing, that Julius is Milgaus. Julius is the eldest child and only son of the Law Tremont royal family. Julius was the first of the children to become a breeder. He was also the best friend and schoolmate of Glenn Maguire. Julius was exiled, though officially he was executed, for killing his dragon, Mordred, making all but few believe he had gone crazy. She says she should be happy that her brother is alive, but for his actions, she can't be happy. He instead reveals about his tough childhood. When Ash was very young, shortly after the birth of his little sister Linda Blake, his father left home for unknown reasons, leaving him with questions about why he left him. Every time he asked his mother about him, she refused to answer, but promised she would answer him once he grew up. Since then, Ash learned that the best way to get an answer is to grab the person and ask for it. Sylvia loves his company and smiles. Suddenly, with the sound of the thunderstorms, she gets frightened and hugs him. But she starts crying while grabbing him. He tries to comfort her, but also wants her to get up, but accidentally falls over her. The situation becomes tense as he wishes to kiss her, but reminds himself that she is a princess after all, and he is just an ordinary guy. But he gives in to the moment and gets closer to her, and is about to kiss her. Sylvia doesn't resist either, but their moment gets interrupted when Cosette knocks at the door looking for Sylvia. Sylvia and Ash get up and Sylvia leaves weirdly. Ash thinks to himself what he was doing was wrong and wonders why Iko is being late. Iko, meanwhile, is running heartbroken thinking about Ash getting married to someone else. Iko wonders why her heart aches as she knows this would have happened anyway. Prim too follows her looking for her. Iko looks around to see that she has lost her way, and Anya along with other caterers are working on something secretly. When they hear Prim calling for Iko, they take out their guns. Iko, seeing their true nature, shouts at Prim to run away. At the castle, Ash gets worried, and he talks to Cosette about both Iko and Prim being missing. Cosette asks him to attend the ball while she will send a search party for Iko and Prim. He attends the ball, crowded with many royals. He meets Sylvia, who is confident that Cosette will find them. Suddenly, he sees a man who looks exactly like Milgaus and confronts him. The man says he is mistaking him for someone else and walks away as Sylvia says that she knows the man who is accompanying him, and that is Klaus Witterhausen. Meanwhile, Anya's people attack Prim, but Iko gets in between and bashes the people. Anya steps forward and shoots at Iko. The scene cuts back to the ball where Sylvia and Ash are dancing at the ball. Sylvia says she is grateful that Ash listened to her. Meanwhile, the search party lets Cosette know that Prim and Iko are nowhere to be found. Ash sits down tired from dancing, as Milgaus in disguise comes to ask Sylvia for a dance. The search party finally finds Prim, who is lying unconscious. Milgaus dances with Sylvia as Sylvia notices his dancing style is similar to Julius. They are notified by Cosette that Prim has been found. Prim starts crying that she couldn't save Iko and the reason behind her fleeing, as Sylvia gets angry at Action, saying Iko has the heart of a girl after all. Ash asks if Prim has noticed anything different, as Prim says that the girl who attacked them was from the Tantalos tribe. Ash recognizes that the girl is Anya and it's Milgaus who abducted Iko. He is prepared to confront him, but Sylvia stops her. At the hideout, Anya joins the doctor, who is conducting the experiment on Iko in the Yggdrasil device. An immense power is injected to Iko in an attempt to bring her into her true form. Iko is in pain and begs them to stop. Ash and Sylvia ride the Lancelot to search for Iko as Iko is grabbed by a tentacled monster inside the machinery, holding her against her will. She cries for help, calling out Ash. Suddenly, the machine turns red and starts malfunctioning. Anya wants to stop the machine, but the doctor says that it's too late now. Iko steps out of the machinery, glowing, while Ash Starbrand starts to glow and burn too as he realizes Iko is in trouble. They see the smoke coming out of an abandoned house and fly there. Milgaus's group successfully completed their plan to force Iko into her dragon form. A huge insignia shines in the sky, and Lancelot refuses to fly into that. Soon the insignia breaks and Iko comes out in her true form. Her true form is that of a giant dragon with 3 horns and large white feathered wings, having pink-colored fur. Her growls make every maestro dragon in the country come to her side. Ash realizes it's Eiko. The ball is interrupted when Eiko adopts her dragon form. Veronica witnesses that every maestro-class dragon in the continent has gathered around the gigantic dragon that had emerged from the airship and goes with Glenn to restrain it. All guests look worried as the dragon closes on them, but Klaus shouts that it's Oswald's plan to attack all the royal family who are present at the ball. Rebecca understands this was Klaus' plan to frame the Lautrement family. Oswald tries to explain his innocence, but all guests run to their safety, except the masked man, Milgauss. Rebecca demands Milgauss to take off his mask to show his true face, and Milgauss does so. She is stunned to see that it's really Julius. But Julius explains that he isn't truly Julius, but actually his dragon Mordred who has possessed Julius. Mordred explains that as the dragon pal of Prince Julius Lautrement, he grew older and discovered that Mordred is a descendant of the Dark Kingdom of Nehelenia and was secretly planning an attack. To end that, the prince conspired to kill it, hoping that it would prevent Mordred's evil self from causing harm. Unfortunately, Mordred's evil self was able to escape the death of its body and possess Julius. Julius was then banished for the crime of murdering his dragon, with no one realizing the truth or the reasons behind his actions. In truth, it was to stop an evil second personality that began consuming Mordred, which both he and Julius agreed to, but the result was Julius being possessed by the evil personality. For 10 years Julius was possessed, and at some point he began working as a spy for the Zephyros Empire under the guise of Milgauss. Rebecca now understands why Julius committed the crime. Mordred also reveals his ambition to revitalize the dragon race by converting the astral-rich humanity into livestock. Mordred is attacked by Glenn, but Mordred is strong enough to stop Glenn's sword with his finger and thumb alone and throw him across the room. Veronica too tries to attack, but is herself surrounded by darkness. Soon she finds herself naked, grabbed by evil vines who start torturing her. Meanwhile, Mordred leaves Julius' body and leaves to take over Eiko's dragon body. Julius, who is now in control of his own body, wakes up Rebecca and lets her know that Mordred is now planning to take over Eiko's body. While possessing Eiko, inside her consciousness, Mordred meets Navi, who isn't fond of Mordred and his plans. Mordred attacks Navi in order to kill her. Meanwhile, Rebecca and Julius meet Sylvia and Ash. Sylvia prepares herself to attack Milgauss, but Rebecca explains that he isn't Milgauss anymore. Sylvia is teary-eyed to meet her brother after so many years. Julius hatches a plot to fly Ash over to Eiko using the Sylvanus. Ash is shocked that Veronica even allowed him to have her ship, but Julius reveals he utilized his extensive knowledge of Veronica's memorandums and blackmails her to allow him to use the ship. Eiko, meanwhile, lost control of her body and being possessed by Mordred wreaks havoc on the city. But in her subconscious, she finds herself in a cage. She meets Navi, who is defeated and her dress torn out, comes to meet her. She tells her that Ash is already coming to rescue her, but she needs to find her true calling. She also reveals that Ash truly loves her, and she can be with him forever if she wants to. But she needs to create an original arc, not like the one she was making before. Seeing Mordred destroying the city, Ash jumps into action along with Julius and other Lautrement soldiers. While the soldiers hold on to the dragon, Ash slowly crawls up to Mordred. But Mordred unfortunately breaks free of the captivity, throwing away the Lautrement airships. Ash falls from Mordred, and as he is falling, he is luckily saved by Luca and Gawain. The whole Ansalivan Council has come to help him in defeating Mordred under Rebecca's leadership. While the council engages in a fight with Mordred, Ash takes this opportunity and jumps over Mordred again. But Eiko right at the moment uses her magic to make him teleport to a different realm. He finds himself in a different place where he can hear chantings. He looks out for Eiko and finds her. Eiko tells him to accept her truly. Ash regains his consciousness and finds himself over Mordred. Echo begins to construct for Ash his own personal arc and gives him access to Excalibur, an age-old weapon, the most powerful of all swords. However, this arc is incomplete due to the haste of time and doesn't have any physical form. Ash brings out the Excalibur and rushes at Mordred, declaring that he will save Eiko. But Mordred warns him that defeating him will also make Eiko lose her dragon form too. But Ash, knowing that Eiko will be saved, breaks the spirit's hold over Eiko by cutting off one of her horns and forcibly returning her back to normal. Mordred cries in pain and is eventually defeated, vanishing into thin air, and Eiko is returned to her human form, naked, floating above the city. Ash flies towards her and hugs her. Ash and Council have successfully saved the city and all fly back to their safety, while Ash holds onto Eiko, sharing a moment. Sometime later, Anya tries to escape from the law treatment soldiers but is caught by them, along with Avdocha. Anya ultimately faints, being weak, and Avdocha, looking at her face, realizes it's her long-lost sister she has been looking for. The council meets Ash, who is still recovering from the fight. Julius also accompanies them. Ash apologizes for not completely killing Mordred, as Julius says they will get him eventually. His spirit has escaped and is last seen flying to the east. After the evil personality eventually left his body, Julius regained control of his body and has returned to his country and family. Rebecca says they will be leaving now, but he can join them as soon as he recovers. Everyone leaves except Eiko, who stays by his side. Jessica asks if she can stay back to look after her, but Sylvia drags her away, saying he doesn't want her. But before leaving, she takes a look at Ash, disheartened. Ash and Eiko sits together, and finally they share a kiss, ending the anime.